What is meant for you will come, the deepest message of Buddhism. There is a quiet wisdom that flows through the teachings of the Buddha, a reminder that what is meant for you will never miss you, and what is not meant for you will never stay. This truth transcends time, culture, and circumstance. It is not about blind resignation or passive waiting. It is about awakening to the harmony of life and understanding that the flow of existence unfolds according to a deeper intelligence. Buddhism calls this Dharma, the law of the universe that operates beyond human control, but in complete alignment with truth. In our restless search for love, success, and meaning, we often become trapped by attachment and fear. We believe that by forcing, striving, and controlling, we can guarantee happiness. Yet the more we cling, the more we suffer. The Buddha's message offers a radical shift: to trust the unfolding of life, to align with its rhythm, and to release the illusion of control. When you deeply understand this, peace arises. Not because everything goes your way, but because you finally flow with the way of things. This teaching, that what is meant for you will come, is not a call to laziness, but to awareness. It invites you to live with mindfulness, to walk your path with integrity, and to let go of resistance. In doing so, life begins to mirror your inner stillness. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer grasp, you receive. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom, that life's natural unfolding is your greatest teacher. Let us now explore the 5 deep realizations behind this message, each one revealing how to live with peace, trust, and harmony in a world that constantly changes. The law of impermanence and the beauty of letting go. Every flower blooms and fades. Every sunrise meets the horizon and disappears into dusk. Every breath we take arises and dissolves into the next. The Buddha taught that impermanence, anicca, is the foundation of existence. Everything changes, moves, transforms. The deeper we resist this truth, the more pain we create for ourselves. But when we see impermanence as beauty, as the pulse of life itself, a great peace begins to dawn. In the modern world, people cling to what they love as if it could last forever. We hold relationships tightly, fear losing opportunities, and dread the end of joyful moments. Yet, it is precisely this clinging that breeds suffering. Buddhism calls it tanha, craving, the root of human distress. When we desire permanence in an impermanent world, we fight against the natural order of things, and in that struggle, we lose the ability to see the divine wisdom of impermanence. To understand that what is meant for you will come is to trust impermanence itself. It is to know that what leaves you was never meant to imprison you. It has fulfilled its purpose, to teach, to transform, to awaken. The job, the friendship, the love that ends, they are not losses but doorways to deeper awareness. Every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. When you let go with grace, life always replaces what is gone with something that aligns more truly with your path. This is why the Buddha compared attachment to grasping a burning coal. It hurts only because we refuse to release it. Once you open your hand, you are free. When you stop insisting that things must go your way, you begin to see that life already knows what is right for you. Trust is born, not in a distant deity, but in the flow of existence itself. Letting go, then, is not a loss, but a liberation. You are not losing what was meant for you. You are making space for what truly belongs to you. When the heart releases its grip, clarity arises. You begin to see that life is not chaotic, but beautifully intelligent. What departs does so with purpose. What arrives comes with meaning. The wise learn to bow before the movement of time, knowing that every change, even the painful ones, serves the awakening of consciousness. So if something or someone drifts away from your life, do not despair. Instead, say silently, "Thank you for your role in my journey," And if something new enters, welcome it with the same gratitude, for it too will bring a lesson. When you live in harmony with impermanence, you stop chasing destiny, and destiny starts flowing toward you. At the end of this reflection, take a moment to breathe, to feel, and to trust. Everything that is meant for you will find you when your heart is ready. If these words brought you peace, remember to subscribe to the channel for more teachings that awaken inner calm and spiritual clarity. The wisdom of non-attachment and the freedom of allowing. When the Buddha spoke of freedom, he did not refer to political liberation or external independence. He meant freedom of the heart, the release from attachment and aversion that keeps the mind restless. Non-attachment, or upekkha, is not indifference. It is deep serenity, born from understanding that nothing and no one can truly be possessed. You can love fully without clinging, act with passion without greed, and walk your path without fear of loss. To live by the truth that what is meant for you will come is to cultivate non-attachment. This teaching may sound simple, but it requires a profound inner transformation. The ego believes that happiness depends on control, that if we hold tightly to people, success, or comfort, we can guarantee fulfillment. But Buddhism reveals that true happiness is not in holding, but in releasing. When you stop clinging, you begin to experience life's natural harmony. Non-attachment is not cold detachment. It is the spacious awareness that allows everything to be as it is. Imagine holding a bird in your hands. If you grip it too tightly, you harm it. If you open your palms, the bird rests freely. It may stay, it may fly away, but your peace remains. This is how the wise love, freely, tenderly, without ownership. In the same way, your goals, dreams, and relationships must breathe. When you release the need to control the outcome, you align yourself with the rhythm of life. What is meant for you naturally comes, because there is no resistance in your being. The universe flows through an open heart, not a clenched one. The Buddha compared desire to a river that never stops flowing. No matter how much water you drink, thirst returns. Only when you step out of the current and rest on the riverbank of awareness do you find peace. Non-attachment is stepping out of that current. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering from caring too much in the wrong way. You stop expecting people or events to complete you because you realize you are already whole. When you live this way, even loss cannot destroy your peace. You understand that everything that comes to you is borrowed, not owned. Life lends you experiences for your growth, not for your possession. The beauty of a flower is in its fragility. The sweetness of love is in its impermanence. Non-attachment turns every moment into a miracle because you no longer demand that it lasts forever. This practice requires mindfulness. Whenever you feel the grip of fear or the urge to control, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, can I trust life right now? The answer is always yes, because life has never failed to unfold, even when your mind doubted its direction. And as you continue to surrender, something extraordinary happens. Your energy becomes magnetic. What belongs to you, the right opportunities, relationships, and blessings, begins to find you effortlessly. Non-attachment does not push life away, it invites it in. You become a vessel through which the universe expresses itself freely. So let this be your quiet mantra. I allow, I trust, I release. With every breath, you loosen the chains of expectation and return to the flow of being. That is where the miracle lies, not in getting everything you want, but in wanting nothing and still receiving everything that is meant for you. If this truth resonates with your journey, remember to subscribe to the channel and continue walking this path of awareness and inner peace. To understand the wisdom of non-attachment is to step into one of the most liberating truths in all of Buddhism. It is to recognize that most of our suffering is not caused by what happens to us, but by how we hold on to it. The Buddha saw that human beings spend their lives chasing what they believe will make them happy, and running from what they believe will cause pain. This endless pursuit and avoidance is the root of restlessness. Non-attachment is the release of this compulsion. It is the realization that life itself is not meant to be controlled, but experienced with awareness. When you internalize this, the statement, "What is meant for you will come," ceases to be a poetic phrase and becomes a living truth pulsing through your daily life. In the practice of non-attachment, you do not reject the world. You simply stop demanding that it fulfills your expectations. You see beauty without needing to possess it. You feel love without the desperation to make it permanent. You act with integrity, but leave the results to the natural flow of cause and effect. This is not passivity, it is supreme intelligence. For the one who practices non-attachment does not stop acting, he stops clinging. He understands that the world moves in cycles of gain and loss, joy and sorrow, birth and death. To fight these cycles is to fight against life itself, but to flow with them, like a leaf carried by the current, is to find peace in every turn of the river. Imagine for a moment standing on the shore of a great ocean. Waves come and go. You do not try to hold them. You do not fear their return. You simply watch. This watching, calm, steady, compassionate, is the heart of non-attachment. In that watching, you are no longer tossed about by every change. You become the awareness behind it all. And as awareness, you realize that nothing in this world truly belongs to you, not even your own body or breath. Everything is borrowed. Everything is a gift, returning to the same ocean from which it arose. This truth can feel frightening to the ego, which builds its identity upon ownership, my house, my partner, my success, my story. But the more it owns, the more it fears. Fear of loss is the hidden shadow of attachment. Yet the awakened one knows that nothing real can be lost. For what is real is not the object of possession, but the consciousness that perceives it. When the Buddha spoke of enlightenment, he was not describing a supernatural state. He was describing the freedom that arises when you no longer bind yourself to things that change. The enlightened person walks lightly because he has learned that the less he clings, the more he can love. To live in non-attachment is to understand that every person you meet, every opportunity that arises, every event that unfolds, is like a cloud passing through the sky of your awareness. You do not need to grasp the clouds. They are beautiful because they move. You appreciate them for their transience. In the same way, you can appreciate love without fear of its ending, because you know that love is not meant to be possessed. It is meant to be shared, experienced, and released when its time has passed. What is meant for you will never require you to lose your peace to keep it. Non-attachment does not mean indifference. It is not coldness or apathy. Many misunderstand this. The Buddha did not teach people to withdraw from life, but to engage in it with wisdom. A person who practices non-attachment can love more deeply than one who clings, because their love is pure. It is not mixed with fear, need, or control. When you are attached, you love to possess. When you are free, you love to bless. One enslaves, the other liberates. To love without attachment is to love as the universe loves, generously, without demand. This way of being requires practice, patience, and awareness. It begins with mindfulness, the capacity to observe your thoughts and emotions without becoming them. When desire arises, you simply notice it. You breathe. You allow it to pass like wind moving through the trees. When fear of loss surfaces, you do not resist it. You hold it in awareness until it dissolves. In this simple act of presence, your mind slowly learns that it no longer needs to control everything. And as control loosens, peace expands. Buddhist monks train for years to master this. They do not renounce the world because they despise it, but because they wish to see it clearly. To live simply is to remove the distractions that feed attachment. Every possession, every ambition, every indulgence strengthens the illusion that happiness is out there. By letting go of excess, monks return to the inner source of contentment, the quiet joy of being alive, breathing, aware. You can live this way even in the modern world, even surrounded by noise and desire. It begins by asking one question every day. Am I holding on, or am I flowing? Do consider your own life. How many times have you suffered not because something ended, but because you refused to accept that it had ended? How often have you carried resentment for people who were simply walking their own paths? Non-attachment teaches compassion for others and for yourself. When you stop forcing life to fit your expectations, you allow others to be free. You stop demanding perfection and begin to see beauty in imperfection. You understand that everyone is doing the best they can with their level of consciousness. This insight softens the heart and silences judgment. A person who practices non-attachment lives in gratitude. They see every encounter as sacred, every moment as enough. They do not postpone joy for the future or anchor it in the past. They know that this breath, this heartbeat is already a miracle. Gratitude and non-attachment grow together because when you are thankful for what you have, you no longer feel desperate to keep it. You trust that life will continue to provide. The great Zen masters often spoke of the empty cup. When your cup is full of desires, opinions, fears, there is no space for the universe to pour new blessings into it. But when you empty the cup, when you release the need to control outcomes, you become receptive. What is meant for you can now flow in, effortlessly. Non-attachment is the art of keeping the cup empty. It is saying to life, I am open, teach me, and life responds. When you loosen your grip, you start to notice synchronicities, people appearing at the right time, doors opening where you least expected, events aligning in mysterious harmony. This is not magic, it is resonance. When you stop resisting, your energy aligns with the natural current of the universe, and the current carries you toward what is truly yours. You no longer chase, you attract through stillness. You no longer beg life to give you what you want. You trust that it will give you what you need. In this state, fear begins to fade. You realize that even the painful experiences serve your awakening. A breakup, a job loss, a disappointment. These are not punishments but realignments. They are life's way of removing what is not in harmony with your path. The mind may panic, but the heart, if trained in non-attachment, whispers, this too is grace. Every ending is preparation for a deeper beginning. The more you trust this, the more courage you gain to release. You may notice that the hardest part of letting go is not the object itself, but the identity attached to it. We say, I am successful because I have this career, or I am worthy because this person loves me. Non-attachment dismantles these false identities. You realize you are not the roles you play or the things you achieve. You are the awareness witnessing them. And awareness does not depend on external validation. When this realization matures, an immense freedom arises, the freedom of being nobody and yet everything. This is what the Buddha meant when he said that liberation is not found by adding anything but by letting go. It is subtraction, not accumulation. Every time you let go of something you thought you needed, you discover that you were already whole without it. The mind loses its constant hunger. Silence becomes satisfying. Solitude becomes sweet. You stop measuring your life by what you gain and start cherishing it for what you experience. Non-attachment also brings balance to desire. In Buddhism, desire itself is not the enemy. It is unwise desire, craving, obsession, compulsion that causes suffering. There is a pure form of desire called aspiration, the wish to grow, to awaken, to help others. When you act from aspiration rather than craving, your desires harmonize with the flow of Dharma. You no longer force outcomes. You plant seeds through your actions and trust the timing of their fruition. The universe has its own seasons. Some moments are for planting, others for harvesting, and some for resting. Non-attachment is the wisdom of knowing which season you are in and honoring it without resistance. If the fruit is not ready, you do not pull it from the tree. You nurture it with patience. Likewise, when an opportunity leaves, you do not chase it. You bow in gratitude and wait for what aligns better. In this rhythm, you find peace because you are no longer fighting time itself. When your heart is steady in this understanding, relationships transform. You no longer see people as means to fill your emptiness. You honor their freedom as much as your own. Love becomes a sacred exchange, not a transaction. You allow others to come and go without resentment, trusting that those meant to walk beside you will do so naturally. This trust removes jealousy, fear, and control. It replaces them with respect and serenity. And because your energy becomes light, you attract others who are also free. Together, you create relationships rooted not in dependency, but in awareness. There is also deep humility in non-attachment. You understand that life owes you nothing. The world is not here to satisfy your desires, but to awaken your consciousness. Every joy and every loss is part of that awakening. When you see this, gratitude becomes unconditional. You are thankful not only for what pleases you, but for what challenges you. You bow before reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. This acceptance dissolves suffering at its root. The path of non-attachment also requires courage. It is easy to cling to what is familiar, even if it causes pain. Letting go demands faith in the unseen. It asks you to trust that the space left behind will not remain empty, but will be filled with something more aligned with your truth. And life always fulfills that promise. But the fulfillment only comes after you release. You cannot receive with closed hands. The practice of meditation teaches this directly. When you sit in stillness, thoughts arise like waves. If you chase them, you lose yourself in their motion. But if you simply observe, without judgment, without grasping, the waves settle and the ocean of mind becomes clear. In that clarity, you realize you were never the waves, you were always the vastness beneath them. Non-attachment in life is the same. It is meditation in action. As this understanding deepens, something miraculous occurs. Joy returns, not as a fleeting emotion, but as a constant background. You become joyful for no reason, peaceful without condition. You could lose everything tomorrow and still remain whole, because your happiness no longer depends on external arrangements. You see that everything that is truly meant for you, peace, wisdom, love, was never outside you. It was always within, waiting to be uncovered once you stopped clinging to the outer illusions. And this is why non-attachment is not a philosophy of loss, but of abundance. The less you hold on, the more the universe can give. The emptier your hands, the fuller your heart. This is the great paradox that only the awakened understand. The moment you let go, you realize that nothing was ever missing. You and life were never separate. You were always part of the same divine unfolding. So as you walk your path, remember, you do not have to chase what is yours. You only need to clear the space for it to arrive. Trust the timing, trust the flow, trust that what is meant for you will never require force, desperation, or self-betrayal. It will come quietly, naturally, in perfect harmony with your readiness. When you live this way, your very presence becomes serene. People feel peace around you because you radiate acceptance. You are no longer at war with reality. You are the calm within the storm, the silence within the noise, the witness behind all change. This is the fruit of non-attachment, unshakable peace in the midst of an ever-changing world. And so, let this be your meditation. Breathe in acceptance, breathe out control. Let the river of life carry you where you are meant to go. Do not fight its current. Trust its wisdom. For what is meant for you will come, not when you chase it, but when you are quiet enough to receive it. If these teachings bring clarity and peace to your heart, take a moment now to subscribe to the channel. Continue walking with us on this path of Buddhist wisdom, where each word, each silence, and each breath leads you closer to freedom and inner calm. The power of trust in the flow of life. To trust the flow of life is to surrender to the great intelligence that moves all things. It is to understand that you are not a separate being adrift in a chaotic world, but a current within a vast river whose direction is perfectly aligned with the whole. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises not from what happens to us, but from our resistance to what happens. The mind wants to decide, to control, to predict. It clings to plans and fears uncertainty, but life is not a fixed path to be conquered. It is a dance to be joined. To trust the flow is to remember that you were never the dancer. You are the dance itself. When you look at the natural world, you can see this wisdom reflected everywhere. The tree does not resist the wind. It bends and returns to its stillness. The ocean does not fight the waves, it becomes them. The seasons do not argue with time, they surrender and are renewed. Yet human beings, with their restless minds, are constantly trying to make life fit their desires. We create tension by saying, "This should not be happening," or "I am not where I should be." But the universe does not make mistakes. Every detour, every delay, every challenge carries within it an unseen alignment, a hidden purpose that only trust can reveal. Trust is not the same as blind faith. Blind faith clings to a belief in hopes that it will protect you from pain. True trust, as taught by the Buddha, is awareness of impermanence and acceptance of what arises. It is the understanding that you do not need to know where the path leads to walk it fully. The next step will always appear when you are ready to take it. The mind, with its constant need for security, will demand guarantees. But life offers none, and that is its beauty. It gives you moments, not maps. Trust allows you to walk into those moments with open eyes, knowing that whatever unfolds is exactly what your soul needs to grow. Many people think that trusting the flow of life means doing nothing, waiting passively for destiny, but that is a misunderstanding. Trust is an active state of alignment. It means listening to intuition, taking inspired action, and then releasing attachment to the result. You do what feels true in your heart, and then you let life take care of the rest. When you act in this way, you begin to notice that things unfold more smoothly. Opportunities arise effortlessly, and difficulties reveal lessons that strengthen your inner peace. You are no longer forcing. You are flowing. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." This means that when you align your inner world with acceptance and calm, your outer world starts to reflect that same harmony. Life mirrors your inner state. If you trust the flow, life flows. If you resist, life resists. This is not superstition, it is the natural law of resonance. Your energy attracts experiences that match your frequency. The one who trusts emits peace, and peace returns. The one who fears attracts chaos, not because life is punishing him, but because his inner world is disordered. To trust, therefore, is to bring order to your soul. Trusting the flow of life also means embracing uncertainty as a sacred teacher. The mind fears what it cannot predict, but uncertainty is not an enemy. It is the space where transformation happens. Every major awakening in life begins with the unknown. The seed must surrender to the darkness of the soil before it can sprout. The caterpillar must dissolve completely before becoming a butterfly. Likewise, there will be moments when your life seems to fall apart, when plans fail, relationships end, or dreams fade. In those moments, the mind panics, but the soul smiles, for it knows that change is never destruction, it is creation in disguise. Trust reminds you to breathe through the chaos and whisper, "Something beautiful is forming." When you live in trust, even pain becomes sacred. You see that the storms of life are not meant to break you, but to purify you. Every disappointment burns away illusion. Every loss teaches you what cannot be lost. Every failure humbles you into wisdom. The person who resists pain multiplies it. The one who trusts it transforms through it. This is the essence of Buddhist resilience, the ability to remain calm and open even in the face of suffering, knowing that life never stops unfolding toward greater understanding. The ego, however, fears surrender. It believes that if it lets go, everything will collapse. It equates control with safety. But the truth is that control is the real illusion. You cannot control time, other people, or the movement of the stars. You cannot even control your next thought before it arises. The universe operates by laws far beyond human comprehension. When you finally see this, trust is no longer optional. It is inevitable. You realize that letting go is not losing power. It is returning it to where it always belonged. Life has been carrying you all along. You only need to stop struggling against the current. The river of existence never stops moving. Whether you swim with it or against it, it continues. But when you trust and move with it, you experience the beauty of its rhythm. You begin to see how perfectly everything connects. The timing of events, the people you meet, the lessons that arrive just when you need them. This synchronicity is the language of trust. When your mind is calm, you start to notice that nothing is random. The conversation that inspired you, the setback that redirected you, the coincidence that guided you, all of these are life's way of whispering, you are on the right path. The practice of trust is also the practice of patience. In a world that worships speed and results, patience has become rare. But nothing of real value grows overnight. The Buddha compared spiritual awakening to the blooming of a lotus, a process that begins in the mud. Trust teaches you to honor the timing of your own unfolding. You stop comparing your path to others because you know that every soul blooms at its own pace. This patience frees you from envy and frustration. You no longer rush toward the future. You meet it in peace. Trust also deepens your relationship with intuition. When you stop overthinking, you begin to hear the quiet voice within, the whisper of wisdom that comes not from logic but from awareness. The Buddha called this direct insight prajna. It is not learned from books or teachers. It arises naturally when the mind is still. Intuition is the compass of trust. It does not reveal the whole journey, only the next step. But that step is always true. When you follow it, life reveals the next and the next. Eventually you look back and see that everything aligned perfectly, even the moments that once confused you. This realization is the reward of trust, the recognition that nothing was ever wasted, nothing was ever wrong. There is great humility in this practice. To trust life is to bow before something greater than the self. It is to admit that the mind's knowledge is limited. The most profound moments of grace often arise when you stop trying to figure everything out. The more you analyze, the more tangled you become. The more you trust, the more clarity arises naturally. This is why the masters often smile silently when asked about the mysteries of existence. They know that truth is not grasped by thinking but revealed by trusting. In daily life, trust can be practiced in small, simple ways. When something doesn't go as planned, instead of reacting with frustration, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, can I trust this too? When an unexpected delay occurs, instead of complaining, remember that perhaps life is protecting you from something unseen. When you lose something or someone, instead of collapsing into despair, whisper to yourself, if this was meant to stay, it would. Every time you choose trust over resistance, your heart expands. Slowly, trust becomes your natural state. This inner shift changes how you experience everything. You stop dividing life into good and bad, success and failure, gain and loss. You begin to see everything as movement, different notes in the same symphony. You no longer label experiences as mistakes because even your errors become teachers. The one who trusts walks with calm eyes, even in storms. They know that peace is not found by avoiding difficulty, but by meeting it with acceptance. And when trust becomes deep enough, even death loses its sting. The Buddha taught that birth and death are not opposites, but two aspects of one continuous flow. When you truly trust life, you no longer fear its end, because you understand that nothing real ever ends. Form changes, but essence remains. This awareness dissolves the greatest fear of all, the fear of the unknown. What you once called unknown becomes infinite. You rest in the knowing that you are part of that infinity. Trust also brings compassion. When you trust the flow, you stop judging others for their choices or paths. You understand that every being is moving through their own lessons, guided by forces beyond appearance. You no longer rush to fix or control others. Instead, you offer presence, patience, and understanding. You allow them the dignity of their own timing, just as life has allowed you yours. This compassion creates harmony in relationships, because trust and love are two sides of the same coin. You cannot truly love without trust, and you cannot truly trust without love. As you continue walking this path, you may begin to notice that trust transforms not only your inner world, but also your outer reality. Because your energy is calm, your actions become clear. You stop wasting energy on worry, and your attention sharpens. You make decisions from wisdom, not fear. The more you trust, the more effective you become, because you are no longer scattering your power through resistance. Trust is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength, the strength that comes from alignment with truth. To trust the flow of life is to live in harmony with Dharma. It is to remember that you are not a wave struggling to survive. You are the ocean itself expressing as a wave. No matter what happens, you remain the same ocean. The forms may rise and fall, but your essence, awareness, is untouched. When this truth sinks deep into your heart, fear vanishes. You can walk through any storm with serenity, because you know that the river never leads away from home. It always returns you to yourself. So let go of the constant questioning. Why is this happening? When will things change? Instead, say, I trust. Trust that every delay has purpose, that every closed door hides a redirection, that every loss clears space for what is real. The path of trust is not about predicting the future, but embracing the present with open arms. The present moment is where life flows most freely, and when you fully inhabit it, you realize that you were never lost. You were simply being carried all along. The greatest gift of trust is peace. Not a fragile peace that depends on conditions, but a profound stillness that nothing can shake. It is the peace of knowing that you do not have to push the river, because the river is already flowing toward exactly where it should. You begin to wake each morning not with anxiety, but with curiosity. What will life reveal today? Every day becomes an unfolding mystery, and you meet it not with fear, but with wonder. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom, to trust the process of existence itself, to understand that everything comes when the time is right, that nothing is ever truly late, and that the universe is not against you but working for your awakening. The deeper your trust, the lighter your steps become. You stop walking with worry and start walking with grace. So breathe deeply, let life guide you. Let the wind rearrange your plans if it must. What is meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant to be yours. The path ahead is already unfolding perfectly. All that is asked of you is trust. If these words remind you of your own journey and bring peace to your heart, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Continue walking with us in this space of Buddhist wisdom and calm reflection, where each message brings you closer to acceptance, clarity, and inner freedom. The calm strength of acceptance. Acceptance is one of the most profound and transformative teachings within Buddhism. It is not passive resignation, as many misunderstand it to be. It is the active, conscious embrace of what is, without resistance, without judgment, and without the endless desire for things to be different than they are. Acceptance is the realization that reality, in this exact moment, is already complete. When the Buddha spoke of liberation from suffering, he was pointing toward this very state of mind, a still, silent awareness that meets every experience with equanimity. To live in acceptance is to align yourself with the truth that the universe is not chaotic but wise. It gives you not what you want, but what you need for awakening. To resist is to suffer. To accept is to awaken. The human mind is naturally restless. It creates stories about how life should be, and in doing so it divides existence into good and bad, gain and loss, success and failure. It wants to keep the pleasant and reject the unpleasant, but life does not move according to our preferences. It flows according to causes and conditions far greater than personal will. When we insist that reality must fit our image of happiness, we wage war against what is, and the one who fights reality always loses. Buddhism teaches that peace begins the moment you stop arguing with life. This does not mean you stop acting or improving. It means you stop resisting what has already arisen. You act from clarity, not from conflict. To accept life as it is does not mean you agree with everything that happens. It means you see things clearly, without distortion. When suffering appears, you acknowledge it instead of denying it. When joy arises, you enjoy it without clinging. You allow both to move through you like passing clouds. The sun, your awareness, remains untouched behind them. This is the freedom of acceptance. Nothing can disturb the space of consciousness that simply observes. When you practice this, you discover that peace is not found by changing the external world, but by changing your relationship to it. The storm may rage, but you are no longer the storm. You are the sky that holds it. In daily life, this practice seems simple, yet it challenges the core of the ego. The ego thrives on control. It believes that if it can manipulate circumstances, it can guarantee happiness. But the more it tries to control, the more chaos it creates. Acceptance shatters this illusion. It reveals that control is unnecessary because life already knows how to unfold. The tree does not need to plan its growth. The river does not need to force its path. The sun does not need to remind itself to rise. In the same way, your life does not require your anxiety to move forward. It only asks for your awareness and your trust. When you begin to live this way, you realize how much energy has been wasted on resistance. Every moment you spent wishing things were different was a moment stolen from the peace that was already available. Acceptance brings serenity because it aligns you with truth. Truth is not always comfortable, but it is always liberating. When you accept a painful reality, the end of a relationship, the loss of a dream, the imperfection of your own nature, you open the door to transformation. Denial keeps wounds infected. Acceptance allows healing to begin. The Buddha said, "The truth is what liberates, not your effort to be free." The moment you look at life without trying to change it, you step out of illusion. You stop living as a prisoner of should and enter the simplicity of is. In that simplicity lies immense power. Acceptance is also the foundation of compassion. When you accept yourself fully, your flaws, your fears, your past, you naturally extend that same understanding to others. You stop demanding that people meet your expectations. You realize that every person acts from their level of awareness, and you stop taking their actions personally. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. You no longer react, you respond with understanding. The Buddha taught that the one who accepts others as they are can no longer hate, because hatred arises from rejection. Compassion arises from acceptance. To accept does not mean to tolerate injustice or avoid action. It means to act without anger, to move with clarity instead of reaction. It means you can confront wrongness without becoming its mirror. In the practice of mindfulness, acceptance is the first step. You observe thoughts as they arise, emotions as they pass, sensations as they change. You do not fight them, you let them be. In doing so, you begin to see that nothing in you is permanent. Thoughts come and go, emotions appear and fade, but the awareness behind them, that which accepts, remains. This is your true nature. It is unchanging, timeless, beyond birth and death. The more you rest in this awareness, the less you are disturbed by the surface movements of life. Acceptance deepens into realization. There was never anything to resist because everything is already whole. One of the greatest obstacles to acceptance is the belief that if you accept something, you will become complacent. But true acceptance does not breed passivity. It gives rise to intelligent action. When you stop resisting what is, your mind becomes clear enough to see what can be done. You respond from wisdom rather than from fear or anger. For example, if a situation in your life feels painful, perhaps a job that no longer fulfills you, denial will trap you. You will either remain stuck or act impulsively. Acceptance, on the other hand, allows you to see clearly. This situation is no longer aligned with me. From that awareness, you act decisively and calmly, not out of panic but out of truth. Acceptance is not surrendering to fate. It is cooperating with reality. It is saying, I see what is, and I will move with it, not against it. Acceptance also teaches patience with the unfolding of time. The mind wants quick results, but life operates through seasons. Some seasons are of growth, others of rest. Some are of clarity, others of confusion. When you accept each season as necessary, you stop rushing your evolution. You understand that even in stillness, something inside you is ripening. The lotus blooms only when the time is right. Trying to force its petals open would destroy it. Likewise, when you force life, you break its natural rhythm. Acceptance restores the rhythm of the soul. You learn to wait without frustration, to act without attachment, and to rest without guilt. To live in acceptance is also to live in forgiveness. Many people carry heavy burdens from the past, regrets, resentments, unresolved pain. They replay old stories and wonder why peace never comes. But peace cannot enter a heart that is closed by resistance. Forgiveness is not about erasing what happened. It is about releasing your resistance to it. You accept that the past cannot be changed, that people acted according to their awareness at the time, and that every wound has contributed to your awakening. When you forgive, you are not condoning wrongness. You are freeing yourself from its chains. You are saying, I no longer allow the past to define my present. This act of acceptance reclaims your power. It allows you to move forward, unburdened, open to new experiences. The more you practice acceptance, the more you realize that peace does not depend on circumstances. It is not waiting at the end of problems, but present in the middle of them. Even when life feels heavy, you can choose to breathe, to be still, and to say, this too is part of the path. Acceptance transforms pain into wisdom. Every difficulty becomes an invitation to deepen your awareness. You start seeing challenges as spiritual teachers disguised as obstacles. They appear not to punish you, but to show you where you still resist life. When you meet them with acceptance, they lose their power to hurt you. There is immense strength in a person who accepts life as it comes. This strength is not loud or aggressive. It is silent, steady, unshakable. It is the strength of a mountain that allows the winds to pass. Acceptance gives you that same stability. You no longer react to every change like a leaf blown by emotion. You remain grounded yet flexible. You can adapt without losing yourself. You can face uncertainty without fear. This is the calm strength of acceptance, the strength that comes from inner stillness, not outer control. In Buddhism, this inner stillness is called upekkha, equanimity. It is the crown jewel of wisdom. The Buddha described it as the mind that remains balanced in all circumstances, unaffected by praise or blame, gain or loss, pleasure or pain. This state is not indifference. It is serenity born from understanding. You know that everything that arises will pass, so you no longer cling to highs or despair at lows. You live in the middle path, steady and awake. Acceptance is the gateway to this state. It is the bridge between suffering and liberation. When you accept, you stop being tossed between extremes and rest in the center of being. The practice of acceptance also changes how you relate to your goals and dreams. You still have aspirations, but you are no longer enslaved by them. You pursue what inspires you, but you are not crushed if outcomes differ. You understand that success and failure are both teachers. You learn to enjoy the journey rather than fixate on the destination. Acceptance brings joy to the process itself. Even the obstacles become part of the adventure. You begin to see that every moment of striving, waiting, and learning is sacred. This realization dissolves anxiety. You are no longer racing against life, you are walking with it. Acceptance also deepens your spiritual connection. When you stop demanding that life be different, you become present enough to feel its sacred pulse. Every sound, every movement, every breath becomes part of the divine symphony. The ordinary reveals its holiness. Washing dishes, walking in silence, feeling the wind on your face, all become acts of meditation. You discover that enlightenment is not a distant goal, but the natural fragrance of a life lived in acceptance. The Buddha did not attain peace by escaping the world, but by fully accepting it, moment by moment, without resistance. You too can live this way. Peace is not somewhere else. It is here, waiting beneath your judgments. Sometimes acceptance must begin with the smallest things, a delayed bus, a rude word, an unexpected change of plan. Every moment of irritation is an opportunity to practice. The next time something does not go your way, instead of saying, "Why me?" say, "Yes, this too." Notice how your body softens when you stop resisting. Notice how your mind quiets when you say yes to reality. This simple shift, repeated many times, gradually transforms your entire way of being. You begin to carry peace with you everywhere, not because the world has changed, but because you have. When acceptance becomes your natural state, gratitude naturally arises. You start to see beauty even in imperfection. The cracks in the vase become part of its character. The scars on your heart become symbols of growth. Life, in all its messiness, becomes precious. You no longer chase an ideal version of happiness. You realize that happiness was always here, hidden beneath the layers of resistance. Acceptance peels those layers away until all that remains is pure presence, the quiet joy of simply being alive. Acceptance also teaches humility. You understand that you are not the master of the universe, but a participant in its unfolding. You no longer demand that life cater to your desires. Instead, you ask, how can I align with the truth of this moment? This humility opens the door to grace. When you stop insisting, life begins to guide you gently. You notice synchronicities, gentle nudges, moments of clarity. The more you accept, the more aligned you become with the rhythm of the cosmos. And in that alignment, what is meant for you comes without struggle. Ultimately, acceptance dissolves the illusion of separation. You begin to feel that life is not happening to you, but through you. The boundary between me and life fades. You realize that everything you experience, joy, sorrow, love, loss, is the universe knowing itself through your consciousness. When you accept, you merge with that totality. The drop recognizes itself as the ocean. This is enlightenment, the acceptance of all that is, without resistance, without division. In that acceptance, you find the peace that no circumstance can touch. So let your heart soften toward what is. Let go of the war against reality. Life has never been against you. It has always been your teacher. Every experience, pleasant or painful, was guiding you toward this realization, that peace is not found in control, but in surrender. You do not need to fix the world to rest. You only need to stop resisting it. The moment you say yes, the whole universe says yes back. If these reflections bring stillness and understanding to your path, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Continue walking with us on this journey of Buddhist wisdom and calm awareness, where every lesson opens another door to peace and inner strength. The stillness that attracts what is meant for you. There comes a moment on the spiritual path when you realize that all the seeking, all the striving, all the anxious attempts to become something or find something were never necessary. The peace, the love, the fulfillment you longed for have always been within you, quietly waiting beneath the noise of your restless mind. Buddhism calls this discovery awakening, the end of illusion, the seeing of things as they truly are. When you awaken to the stillness at the core of your being, life itself begins to change, not because the outer world has altered, but because you have. In that stillness, you stop chasing, and what is meant for you begins to flow toward you effortlessly, as if drawn by the calm magnetism of your presence. This is the paradoxical power of the still mind. The less you pursue, the more life comes to meet you. Stillness does not mean inactivity or withdrawal from the world. It is the absence of internal conflict, the quieting of the endless commentary that separates you from the present moment. The Buddha often described enlightenment as the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. When those fires are out, what remains is stillness, not emptiness in the negative sense, but a fullness beyond description. It is the space from which all wisdom and compassion naturally arise. In stillness there is no need to push or pull. There is only alignment. You act when it is time to act, you rest when it is time to rest, and in between you trust the rhythm of existence to carry you where you need to be. To understand this deeply, imagine a lake on a windless morning. The surface is perfectly still, reflecting the sky and mountains with crystal clarity. The reflection is not something the lake has to create. It is its natural state when undisturbed. In the same way, your mind, when still, reflects reality perfectly. It becomes a mirror for truth. When disturbed by fear, desire, or doubt, it distorts what it sees, creating confusion and suffering. The practice of meditation, mindfulness, and inner silence is the art of letting the winds settle. You do not force the mind to be still. You simply stop feeding the winds that stir it. The endless judgments, comparisons, and desires. When you rest in awareness, the lake of consciousness clears by itself, and life begins to reflect its beauty back to you. The still person attracts not through effort, but through energy. This is why, in the presence of truly peaceful people, you feel calm without them saying a word. Their silence speaks. Their eyes carry the depth of someone who is not grasping for anything. They do not need to convince or impress. Their very being radiates harmony. The world is naturally drawn to such presence because deep down, everyone longs for that same peace. When you cultivate stillness within yourself, you become a sanctuary. not only for your own soul, but for others as well. The things, people, and opportunities that resonate with your peace begin to appear, while those that disturb it naturally fall away. This is not magic, it is alignment. The universe responds to your inner frequency. In stillness, you learn that nothing real can be forced. The flower blooms when the season is right. No amount of pulling can hasten its petals. The river flows when the ice melts. You cannot command it to move sooner. Likewise, what is meant for you, the right relationship, the right opportunity, the right realization, will arrive precisely when you are ready to receive it. The readiness does not come from doing more. It comes from being still enough to notice when it appears. Most people miss life's blessings, not because they are hidden, but because they are too busy rushing past them. The Buddha said that enlightenment is not a new experience, but the end of confusion. Stillness ends confusion. It slows you down enough to see the subtle movements of grace that were always present. To cultivate this stillness, you must first learn to trust silence. The modern mind is terrified of silence because silence reveals truth. It exposes the emptiness behind distractions. When you sit quietly, with no phone, no task, no conversation, you begin to encounter yourself, not your roles, not your achievements, but the raw presence beneath it all. At first, this can feel uncomfortable, even frightening. The mind will rebel, filling the space with thoughts. But if you remain patient, breathing softly, watching without judgment, a subtle shift occurs. The noise begins to fade, and a quiet awareness emerges. That awareness is not something you create, it is what you are. The silence you feared becomes your greatest teacher. It begins to show you how little is needed to be whole. From this stillness, compassion blossoms naturally. When you are not lost in your own noise, you can finally hear others. You can see their suffering without reacting, love them without needing to fix them. Stillness makes you spacious inside. There is room for the world to exist within you. The more spacious you become, the less you cling to outcomes. You begin to move through life like water, flexible, yielding, yet powerful. The rigid mind breaks under pressure, but the still mind flows through everything. This is the power of the gentle. They cannot be broken because they do not resist. The Buddha's calm in the face of suffering was not indifference. It was the unshakable strength of stillness. When you embody stillness, life's timing becomes your ally. You stop asking, "When will it happen?" because you understand that every moment is happening. The idea that something is missing fades away. You no longer live waiting for the next event to complete you. Instead, you experience the fullness of now. In that fullness, life brings you exactly what belongs to you. The right people cross your path when you are peaceful enough to meet them without fear. The right opportunities appear when you no longer chase them with anxiety. The right words come when you speak from silence. The universe responds to the quiet heart because it moves at the same pace, the pace of eternity, not of urgency. To live in this state does not mean nothing challenges you. It means that challenges no longer shake your peace. You become like the deep ocean. Waves may crash above, but the depths remain calm. When difficulties arise, you meet them from stillness, not reaction. You pause, breathe, and see clearly what life is asking of you. This clarity allows you to act wisely. Instead of adding chaos to chaos, you bring calmness to the storm. Your actions become precise, powerful, and compassionate. The world begins to mirror your stillness, not your struggle. The ego, however, resists stillness because it thrives on motion and drama. It defines itself by doing, by seeking, by comparing. When you stop moving, the ego fears disappearance. But what disappears is not you, it is the illusion of separateness. The self you lose in stillness is the false one, built from thoughts and memories. What remains is your true self, which was never born and will never die. To experience this truth, you must dare to be silent, even when the world demands noise. You must dare to rest, even when the world glorifies effort. Stillness is rebellion against the madness of constant motion. It is a return to sanity, to being, to truth. In the stillness, life begins to communicate with you in subtle ways. Intuition sharpens. Synchronicities increase. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, not because you calculated it, but because your energy harmonizes with the natural flow. This is how what is meant for you finds you, not through striving, but through resonance. The quieter your heart, the clearer the signal you send into the universe. Desire shouts, peace whispers. But it is the whisper that carries furthest because it comes from alignment, not desperation. When you are still, your presence says to life, "I am ready." And life answers. Stillness also teaches the art of contentment. When you are no longer caught in the endless chase for more, you begin to see that you already have enough. The simple things, sunlight on your skin, the sound of rain, a shared smile, become extraordinary. Gratitude fills the space once occupied by desire. You discover that joy is not the result of acquisition, but the absence of want. This realization frees you from the illusion of lack. You no longer chase wealth, recognition, or approval with the same hunger. If they come, you welcome them. If they go, you remain serene. This is the unshakable wealth of the still soul, nothing to prove, nothing to lose. In this inner quiet, love also transforms. It becomes unconditional, vast and fearless. When your heart is still, you no longer love to possess or to complete yourself. You love because love is your nature. You give without expectation, and therefore you cannot be wounded by rejection. The love that flows from stillness is not dependent on circumstance. It is the fragrance of being. It blesses everything it touches, and yet remains untouched itself. This love draws others, not because it demands, but because it radiates peace. It is the kind of love that heals simply by being present. Stillness even changes how you perceive time. When the mind is restless, time feels like an enemy, rushing past, slipping away, never enough. But in stillness, time dissolves. There is only this eternal now, unfolding without beginning or end. When you live in this timeless awareness, you no longer feel hurried. Life unfolds at its natural pace, and you are content to move with it. The anxiety of falling behind disappears because you realize there is nowhere to be but here. Everything that belongs to you will find you here, not in some imagined future. The past loses its grip because you see that nothing was ever truly lost. Even your mistakes were part of the unfolding, shaping the wisdom that now guides you. Stillness also brings courage. It may seem paradoxical that silence gives strength, but it does. When your mind is quiet, fear loses its foundation. Fear feeds on imagined futures. Stillness lives in the present. In the present, there is no threat, only awareness. From this awareness, you can face anything. You stop overthinking and start seeing clearly what needs to be done. The courage that arises from stillness is not loud or reckless. It is calm, steady, unbreakable. It is the courage of one who knows they are supported by the entire universe. As you continue walking this path, you begin to notice that the more you rest in stillness, the more everything falls into place. Situations that once felt impossible start to resolve themselves. People who once drained your energy drift away, and new connections that uplift you appear. Opportunities align with your purpose. The outer world reorganizes itself around your inner peace. This is the great secret the Buddha hinted at when he said that the mind creates the world. When your mind is still, your world reflects that stillness. You no longer live by force, but by flow. Stillness is not something you achieve. It is what remains when you stop interfering. The practice then is simple but not easy. Stop doing for a moment. Sit, breathe, and be. Feel the sensations in your body. Listen to the sounds around you. Watch your thoughts without following them. Gradually, a gap appears, a pause between thought and awareness. That gap is stillness. Stay there. It will grow with practice until it becomes the background of your entire life. Then, even in the midst of activity, you remain inwardly silent. You speak, move, work, and love from that silence. This is meditation in motion, the true meaning of mindfulness. When you live in this way, you discover that stillness does not isolate you from life. It connects you to it more deeply. You begin to feel the pulse of existence in every moment. You sense the intelligence behind even the smallest events, a bird's song, a stranger's kindness, a moment of delay. All become part of the same sacred rhythm. You understand that you are not walking through life. Life is walking through you. What is meant for you cannot be missed because you and it are not separate. And so the journey ends where it began, not with answers, but with silence. You stop needing to know, because you realize you are part of the knowing that animates the universe. You stop needing to become, because you see you already are. You stop searching for what is meant for you, because it has been here all along, waiting for you to be still enough to receive it. What is meant for you will always come, not through effort, but through alignment. Not through control, but through surrender. Not through noise, but through stillness. The deeper your peace, the more life reveals its perfection. So sit, breathe, and let it unfold. The universe moves through you with love. If this final reflection has brought calm and light to your journey, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Continue walking with us through the teachings of Buddhist wisdom, where every silence becomes a doorway to understanding, and every moment of stillness reminds you that everything meant for you is already on its way.